Today we're going to hear about 4 young SOLIDWORKS and 3D experience users who are thought leaders in the world of education, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Not only are they an inspiration, but they are role models to look up to, whether you are an educator or student. We will be learning about their experiences and perspectives on the role that 3D modeling, FIRST robotics, and STEAM play in the future of innovation. First, we have our youngest panelist, Vinaya Gunashekhar. Since she was a young child, she's been working to bring STEAM educational resources to other kids like her. She got started with helping start the science wing at her elementary school through her initiative, Project Root. Now, at the age 13, Vinaya is an environmental activist and STEAM changemaker who is passionate about recycling and using technology to benefit our Earth in innovative ways. She's a member of all-girls first robotic team, Infinity and Beyond, and is an ambassador of the STEAM Connection. She's currently co-hosting the Hands-On Techie Talks podcast and helping to make STEAM accessible for kids during the pandemic. And then over here, we have the Lucas Krupi, a high school student who has entered the SOLIDWORKS community as the youngest known certified SOLIDWORKS expert, passing the exam at the age of 15. He discovered SOLIDWORKS after founding his school's first ever robotics team, and since then, he's used his knowledge in STEM and SOLIDWORKS to mentor and teach hundreds of students across North America. Additionally, Lucas co-founded a company based around producing assistive technology for the blind and visually impaired. And he continues to improve their navigational abilities with his startup, IncaNav. Lucas has also recently started a YouTube channel titled SOLIDWORKS Lucas to advance his educational outreach, so make sure you go subscribe. And then, of course, we have the Danielle Boyer, a 20-year-old Indigenous educator, inventor, author, and activist. And she's been educating children since she was 10 years old. Danielle creates innovative and accessible learning solutions utilizing robotics that she invents, such as Every Kid Gets a Robot, to reduce the barrier to entry and learn tech so kids can learn technical skills through her nonprofit, the STEAM Connection. She also mentors 35 youth robotics teams, and she has invented 3 educational robots and has worked as a diversity champion and speaker. She's a tenacious advocate for the child that she once was, and she's one of the girls changing the world from People magazine and is the L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth and was recently honored in the Women of Worth, an NBC special. And of course, last but not least, we have Aidan Aird, a young inventor and social entrepreneur pursuing a mechanical engineering degree at the University of Toronto. He has been an avid SOLIDWORKS user since the 7th grade, winning numerous awards for his innovations, including gold medals, a patent award, and an Engineering Institute of Canada award. For the past 6 years, Aidan's primary focus has been educating and inspiring the next generation of STEAM leaders through his organization, the STEM Kids Rock, a partnered endeavor with his sister Keely, with a focal point of inclusion and fun. To date, they have provided hundreds of free outreach events, sharing their loves with STEM with over 200,000 kids. And I am Rob Maldonado, your moderator today. I'm a mechanical engineer, 3D modeling content creator, and educator. You also may know me as that guy who produces a model every single day. That's me. I design things every day, and I like to promote education for the old and young alike. My social media influence has helped me bring my creativity and ideas to over 44,000 people all over the world through Instagram. Additionally, I'm a SOLIDWORKS expert just like Lucas and official SOLIDWORKS champion. So as we proceed, feel free to ask some questions in the chat. We'll have 10 minutes at the end to answer them. So let's get started. Hello? Oh, no.
I think we're all good. I think our internet froze for a second.
Oh, can you see/hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay. Because it's not telling me that on my end. My apologies. Anyway, let's start off with Vinaya and Lucas, our 2 youngest panelists. So first question, when did you know that you were first interested in STEM and design? And we'll start with Vinaya.
Hi, everybody. I'd first like to say that how happy I am to be on this panel. This is actually my first panel, so I'm very, very excited. But to answer the question, ever since I was little, I've loved building and designing things. And once I learned about the problems that the world faced, I think it just inspired me to learn even more. Since then, I've been building and designing with whatever I could get my hands on and trying my best to educate people on issues that we're impacted by today.
Very nice. And Lucas, how about you?
Yeah, I'd say there's actually two major reasons why I was so interested in STEM and design. Of course, I'd say most people, when they grow up, if they're interested in it, they build things. A great example of this is when I built a custom CNC router with my grandpa. But the real thing that really captured my interest in STEM and design has actually been learning about SolidWorks. When I was younger, I would design things on paper and pencil. And as you can imagine, that's a lot less powerful than having a CAD package at your side. And once I learned about SolidWorks through my first robotics team, I really realized that STEM and design is what I want to do in the future. I'd say that if you're watching this and you know someone who is interested in STEM and design, I would introduce them to SolidWorks, as they might find value in it as well.
Yeah, but both great responses, especially what Lucas mentioned about getting into SolidWorks. You know, just seeing that really can really light the fire. So I totally agree with that. So how about you, Danielle and Aiden, both of you? So I know that both of you are accomplished educators. So why do you think it's important to teach kids CAD skills? And what's your favorite way to do it? And we'll start with Danielle.
I think CAD gives kids the ability to materialize their ideas and their dreams and to be able to be real world innovators. And I don't know about you all, but I've loved CAD for the longest time. And being able to start using SolidWorks and then being able to teach with it too has been so, so cool. And my favorite way to teach with SolidWorks would have to be with my young ones, my young students, through the SolidWorks app for kids. And these are actually two designs that my students did in the SolidWorks app for kids, and they are wheels on my robots, which is every kid gets a robot, my robot that I invented that costs less than $20 and goes to kids for free. And my students designed these, and our moderator, Rob, actually 3D printed them, all designed in the SolidWorks app for kids. My older students love to rebuild and redesign my robot in SolidWorks, and it is just so, so cool. And I love incorporating CAD and robotics together to help students learn the most that they can.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, just, you know, it was a pleasure working with Edgar and printing those out. Some creative kids there. So, Aiden, how about you? How do you like to teach CAD?
Well, Danielle, you really hit the nail on the mark with that one, especially with that first portion and what you were saying, with the true ability that CAD brings when you have it in your skill set. I believe Lucas even touched upon this a little bit earlier. But I really do think that it's important that we give the creative kids the potential to bring their creativity to life. And sometimes a pen and paper is just not enough for that. There's been a big push over the past few years towards leading in creating programming events for kids and giving them accessible programming. But I really do think that along the same vein comes 3D modeling like SolidWorks. I don't think you can only teach one and push for one without having the other. For the very same reasons that I enjoy programming, I enjoy SolidWorks. It gives me the freedom to create as well as share. And I think that kids have this special type of optimism in which they can see a problem, they can see a solution, but they just don't necessarily know the means of getting there. Where often we find ourselves getting into our heads as engineers, and we only see the limitations of what can be done, not jumping straight to the conclusions. And so I think SolidWorks gives these kids the ability to create a bridge to cross over that gap. And in terms of how I like to teach SolidWorks, for me, it really is targeting real world applications. And so these can be things that are small, like in-home problems. Some smaller things that you may actually see on Rob's Instagram that he posts about, all these little solutions that he comes up with. One that comes to mind specifically is to help him hold his electric guitar. But little solutions like that are a great place to start, and also not too difficult to begin with, but they allow for real world creations and real world applications that these kids can really see. So just inviting them into the engineering design process, I think, is really important. Hey, Rob, if you're speaking, we can't hear you. I'm not sure if you can hear us.
I think we can move on to the next question, and I will actually read it. So this is a question actually for all of us, and it's a really special question to me, and it's who in your life gives you the strength and energy as a role model or mentor, and why are people like them so, so important? And actually, we're going to start with Vinia on this one.
For this question, I would have to say that my mom is my role model. She's actually an engineer, and she inspired me to experiment with engineering and design, and she's been by my side from the beginning. She encourages me to be better every single day. She actually used to work at Ford Motor Company, which is a car company, and we would have take your child to work days where, yeah, you could take your kid to work, and I just loved those. They would have so many activities on building and designing, and that was really fun for me. It kind of opened up my eyes to all the opportunities that were out there for me in STEAM fields, and that was a very great experience.
Awesome. Let's go with Lucas next.
Yeah, much like you, Danielle, this question means a lot to me as well. I would say my grandpa Mike has been probably the biggest supporter and mentor in my life. He is who got me into STEM, and he's also the person who gives me new ideas and new perspectives on issues that I'm working on. Without him, I know I wouldn't be where I am today in STEM. And even though he's not an engineer, he's a retired technician, he still fills me with so much insight whenever I'm working on a problem. I would say like mentors are so important because they give you these new ideas, they give you these new perspectives that you might not know about, as well as they provide you with a personal connection to someone. I would say it's very important for people to have mentors, and I think everybody on this panel would agree that a mentor has really helped shape their life.
That's amazing. I would say for me, my biggest role models have honestly been people from the SOLIDWORKS user group network. You guys are awesome. Like, for example, Eric, Todd, Cam. You guys have influenced me so much in my pursuit of engineering and kept pushing me to go forward in my work in education. And that just means the world to me. In my personal life, I also have a mentor. His name is Dr. Joshua Allison Burbank, and he is an Indigenous speech language pathologist. And the work that he does is just amazing. He has a farm, he has 2 young kids. He's just all over the place with just such amazing energy and work. And he actually mentors me in a fellowship I'm doing in neurodevelopmental disabilities for kids so that I can be the best advocate for bringing science, tech, engineering, art, and math to every single child, no matter what. And just having that connection, that mentor be there for me, especially from a cultural perspective, is just so special. And I'm really thankful for that. And how about you, Aiden?
I really like to hear all the diverse answers that you guys are all bringing forth. I actually didn't expect anybody to say any family members, and I was hoping that I'd be the only one on that front. But yeah, I'm going to go with the cliche, and I'm going to say my dad. And it brings me really great joy to hear both Vinia say her mother as well as Lucas, his grandfather, but also you, Danielle, with all the mentors that you've had along the way. I think that that's just tremendous, and it really speaks to the beauty of this community, as well as humanity as a whole, to be so charitable with these actions. So as for myself, I definitely believe that my dad has been a great role model for me. So unlike Vinia, he never worked for Ford Motor Company, and especially not as an engineer. He actually is a graphic designer, and so is my mom. So I can't necessarily say that I got my engineering interest from him, but definitely my willingness to help others as well as make sacrifices along the way. And I feel that it's really true to who I am. And as a result, he's really inspired me to just be a better person all around and to keep going.
Wow, that's so amazing. So letting you guys know, I heard basically all of that. You know, while the glitch gremlin was messing around with my web camera and stuff like that. But yeah, that is so awesome. It's, you know, and it just goes to show how much mentorship, you know, impacts these things. So to you in the audience, you know lots of engineers, you know, be a mentor to someone. You know, you don't know where it's going to lead. So that's, you know, that's completely amazing. So I want to talk about FIRST for a little bit. So FIRST Robotics, and if you didn't know, stands for First Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. And so how has FIRST aided your journey as current students and youth? So Vinia, you're in a current team. How has that affected you?
Personally, FIRST is, I just think it's an amazing opportunity for anyone. First, I think helped me see myself as an engineer for the first time by really introducing me to built-in programming. Before FIRST, which I joined in 6th grade, I had no idea like anything about engineering or design or programming. But through FIRST, I was introduced to lots of important skills, not just built-in programming, but also like marketing and communication, which are still very useful for me today. I could collaborate with other girls on something that I really loved and figure out really what I wanted to achieve in the future. So I recommend doing FIRST, definitely.
That's so awesome. And how about you, Lucas? You're in FIRST as well.
Yeah, I share Vinya's perspective. You don't just learn about STEM and engineering and all the really hard skills. You also learn about working with a team. You develop yourself personally, and all these skills you can use later down your life. I'd say that my first team is like a second family to me. During build season, when we're working, 8 hours a day trying to get this robot built for competition, the bond that you create with the team members and your mentors really it lasts the rest of your life. I'm gonna think some of these friends that I've made, I can't see myself not knowing them 30 years down the line. And then as well, you have competitions where you meet so many like-minded people from all different parts of the world. I've met people from Dallas, from California through FIRST Robotics that I never would have met without that.
Yeah, that's so totally amazing. And it really goes to show, I mean, at the end of the day, engineering is a team game. And you just need to kind of have it in your system to be successful. And of course, being on a FIRST Robotics team, I think all of us are FIRST Robotics alumni. Is that
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, go Ninja.
Benzene bots.
Yeah. 2383. What about you, Aiden?
4252 Cardinal Robotics.
4384.
Lucas, Vinny, you want to give a shout out to your teams?
7052, we're a new team, Falcatronics.
Yeah, we're also a new team actually. 14638 Infinity and Beyond.
Oh my gosh, so awesome. Yeah, it just fills you with such joy to see that stuff popping up everywhere now. So, let's take this conversation in a different direction. It's not always easy, being in an engineering space. So to talk about overcoming obstacles in your journey, I'd like the four of you to share one challenging experience and what you've done to overcome that in your work. And we'll start again with Vinia.
I think it's safe to say that I haven't done much in this field yet, but regardless of that, I have ran into some inconvenient situations. For example, once at one of my first robotics competitions, a couple of boys were making fun of the software my team was using for programming. I was really disheartened because of that, however small it might be, but eventually I think I learned how to move past what others think of me and go forward doing the things I love however I want to do them. So whenever you want to make a change, keep in mind that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Very nice. Lucas, what about you?
Yeah, I would say that for me, a big challenge in my life has been where I'm raised. I'm located in Thunder Bay, which is a pretty isolated city, really far up north in Canada. It's actually minus 40 degrees Celsius today, so I'm not going outside. But in terms of engineering, when I want to learn something, there's nobody in my community that I really can go to. In my school, I'm the first person that's ever known about SOLIDWORKS, and probably in the history of the school, I've probably been the first one to ever use a CAD software. So when I'm trying to learn something or when I'm trying to get new ideas, I have to go to other people online and I have to create the ideas for myself. So this is a big reason actually why I've moved into Danielle and Aiden's area of expertise, which is education, why I've started mentoring so many kids and started a YouTube channel, because I don't want other kids that were in the same situation as mine have to try so hard to learn about SolidWorks, which is the same thing that I had to do.
Well, that's awesome. That's actually the same reason I started on my YouTube channel, but this is about you guys. So Danielle, I want to hear about you. What's your challenge?
I'd have to say it has definitely been hard getting into engineering because I've heard for a very long time in my life that just girls are not meant to be engineers. And that is something that has come in my face again and again and again in so many different ways. I remember when I first joined my first robotics team after being homeschooled for most of my life, I was so excited to just learn about the robots and program and work on the website team and do all these cool things. But I was met with a lot of resistance. It was obvious that the guys there didn't want me to be on the team. And I would walk into a room just knowing that I was unwelcome and that I was being talked about behind my back and that rumors were being started about me. And it was really hard to continue to fight on in that because it was just so kind of sad. I was like, I just want to learn about robots, you know, like I'm a future biorobotics engineer. And being met with that much animosity was just so difficult and it was hard to continue on. But ultimately, what helped me continue on was my students. I was putting on a lot of after-school programs at the time in STEAM, and I was working a lot in robotics. And because of my interests and my passions, I knew I had to continue what I was doing and that I was helping a lot of kids like me, and so that I just had to continue pushing. I ended up joining another robotics team, thinking that the experience would be really different. But it wasn't. It really wasn't at all. And I was met with that same environment. I was the only girl, like only female upperclassman on the entire team. And everyone had known each other most of their lives. And I was just meeting everyone for the first time. And it was just so difficult to walk into that environment and be treated like I was less just because of my interests. And that's a huge reason why I started my nonprofit, the STEAM Connection. I don't feel like any child should ever have to experience what I did. And I know so many kids do. And I just wanted to create a safe environment, especially emphasizing safety for girls and BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, and people of color youth. And that just means the world to me. But it definitely is really difficult, and it still continues to be every day.
Wow, that's very impactful, and I actually want to expand on that. But before we do that, I want to hear from Aiden about his a challenge that he had to overcome.
Well, I think it's been really great just to hear everything that you all have brought forth here, because I think they're all extremely important topics, and many of which that often we don't consider. But I also think it speaks wonders as to Dassault for having us all here despite these challenges. Like, what a tremendous blessing that is. For all of us to be here and to be able to share that, you know, like to even have been able to get past them to some degree, as difficult as it may be, even if that's just, you know, ignoring them for the time being so that we can actually take action and be here today. As for me, definitely something that I ran into a lot when I was younger and a lot less so now. And I also think that there's been a lot of movement on this front, has just been getting my voice heard, but also the voice of other youth heard. When I used to compete in the National Science Fair here in Canada, the Canada-wide Science Fair, there were always all these incredible projects in which other youth were putting hundreds, sometimes even thousands of hours. Even though you don't think that youth have that kind of time, it was just incredible, the dedication and the passion they put into these projects. But at the end of the day, as soon as the science fair would end, you know, so would the publicity, so would their opportunities. And so it's very hard for youth to come forth as credible sources. And so at the time, I think this also kind of speaks to what Lucas is doing in terms of like creating an answer to the problem. I attempted to do the same by starting my own website, which featured these young scientists on it to give them a credible platform in which they could say that they, you know, have been featured on this website and just have something that they could walk forward with and have to show. So I really do think that the more opportunities that are given out and keeping an eye out and also staying open to the potential of how powerful innovations from youth can actually be is really important. It's something I'd encourage you all to do. And in doing so, you just create more opportunities and more people like us who get to be seen, get to be recognized, which is a huge gift and something that we definitely don't do it for, but also get to take the next steps even better with each of the projects that they're undertaking.
Wow, yeah, and I think this also ties back into, you know, the mentorship thing. You know, if you can be a mentor for someone, for a young person that you know is trying to get into engineering, you know, having that support, you know, really helps with these challenges. Obviously, it's not the cure-all, but it really helps. But something I wanted to expand upon was, you know, something that Danielle mentioned, you know, that you would hear people say that, you know, girls aren't meant to be engineers, which is just terrible and obviously untrue. So I want to hear a little bit more about that. And in, you know, your story, Vinia, when you said the boys were making fun of the software that you're using. So you've both experienced sexism in STEM and, had to forge your own path as minorities. So why do you think it's important for other girls to get involved in STEM and design? And Vinia, I want to hear from you.
I personally love STEAM and design, and I want to share that experience with other girls. I feel like because of people who doubt women in STEAM, many girls aren't allowed to experiment and find out what they love to do and what they're passionate about in STEAM fields, and that's not okay. There are so many girls in my community that really want to do robotics or really want to do a project for school or something, but some just aren't allowed to for some reason, and that's not okay. It's devastating, actually. More gender diversity is needed in all STEAM fields because women just bring just as much to the table as men.
Yeah, that's very incredibly insightful. And Danielle, I want to hear from you as well.
I think that every girl deserves to know that she has a place in STEAM, whether it be as a scientist, as an engineer. Every single girl deserves to know that in STEAM she belongs. And that's something that I have battled with a lot and even continue to now. And I just can't imagine how different my life would be if I pursued what I originally thought that I was supposed to pursue. I thought for the longest time that I was meant to pursue like econ and business and marketing, and that engineering just really wasn't meant for me. And now pursuing my engineering classes, I'm double majoring in mechanical engineering and electrical engineering. I really realized that business is not meant for me. I totally do not like econ. It just doesn't suit me at all. And I think every girl deserves to have that opportunity to find a place where they are just like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. For me, it's biorobotics, which is the emulation of biological organisms, either mechanically or chemically. And I am obsessed with like sea animals and recreating those into robots. And I want other girls to feel that same passion and happiness that I do.
Wow. So I hope, someone hears these messages that, really needs it. And, of course, Danielle has her organization with, Vinia, the STEAM Connection. So I'm sure you could reach out to her if you need more resources for that. So another thing I want to talk about here is both Lucas and Aiden, have very, I guess, community-driven incentives, like, Lucas with his YouTube channel and Aiden with his STEM Kids Rock. So how do you think, in particular, Dassault Systems, do you think they're creating a supportive community for young students to thrive? And why does that matter to you? And we'll start with Lucas.
That's a great question. I could talk about this for probably hours, but I'll try to summarize. Well, first of all, we know that Dassault is giving free SolidWorks and 3D Experience platform licenses to students in FIRST robotics teams, Formula SAE, Skills America, so many programs that students are involved in. And this allows really every student to have access to SolidWorks license, which really allows them to get a really good grasp of STEM and engineering early on in their life. And then, of course, to couple that, there is the educational opportunities that they give. For example, they provide training. I know they have a partnership with Solid Professor for a lot of educational teams, such as FIRST robotics teams, and as well the My SolidWorks website, which is what I used to train for my CSWE exam when I took that. And then lastly, I would say just the fact that SolidWorks and Dassault are letting so many students come to the 3D Experience world, all the presentations, all the conferences, and having panels and conferences specifically for students like this one and many others, it really shows you that Dassault cares about the students. And this means so much to me because I know I would not be where I am in life without the support that Dassault and SolidWorks has given me. And I know a lot of other students are the same way.
Wow, awesome. Aiden, how about you?
Lucas, that was beautifully said. I really don't have much more that I can add on to that without repeating, but we really all are a testament to Dassault's outreach to youth and also to the opportunities that they give to youth, right? Like, we're not anybody special. We weren't born into any special families. Like, there isn't anything that got our foot in the door, nothing special. Dassault's really out there on the ground level looking for community members who are trying to do good in their community, who are trying to learn more about SolidWorks. Like the fact that in 7th grade, I could Google and try to figure out what the best, 3D CAD software was and come across SolidWorks and then purchase on the same day a license for a year for $100 as a student, like really nothing beats that. To be able to get access to that degree of CAD package at a professional level while in the 7th grade, and then to be able to then have access to all these online tools to be able to learn it. Like Lucas, you said it best, right? Like all the investment that Dassault has put into creating these materials, sponsoring the materials, providing the materials, and then the community on top of that, right? And the support that Dassault gives to the community, such as members like Rob. The YouTube content is out of this world, right? And Rob is a huge portion of that. And there's also many others, maybe some of you in attendance. And that accessibility to be given to any kid who has an interest or even an inkling or a curiosity to explore further is incredible. And it only seems to grow with each passing year. So I'm extremely grateful to Dassault.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't all be here if it weren't for the like you said, being on the ground and getting all the community members together. And, I'm just so happy to be part of this community, sharing this experience with you guys. It's really awesome. But that is the end of the questions that I had for you. So I want to move into some community questions that have been asked in the chat. So this one's been directed to Lucas, but I'm going to expand it for everyone. So, and I think you mentioned it a little bit. So it says, Lucas, did you use official SOLIDWORKS materials and courses to become an expert, or self-education and internet surfing? So I want to expand that and just ask everyone, like, what do you use to, get better at your craft? How do you like to learn? And we'll start with Danielle. Danielle looks like she's ready.
I have to say, I love, Rob, your YouTube channel. It is so useful. It's so helpful, whether you're learning how to take an exam or you just want to see some really cool designs. Everyone go check it out. His YouTube channel is Virtual Flat CAD. That has helped me so much in my journey, and even just meeting you and you helping me guide my designs. For all of you, Rob is actually my design mentor on a few projects, and he has helped me so much. It is amazing the assistance that he provides. It's just a breath of fresh air. And so I really recommend checking out his Instagram, his Twitter, and all the resources that he creates for students and educators alike.
Yeah, you see, guys, being a mentor is pretty fun. You get to work with awesome people like these. Anyone else want to share their thoughts about how they like to learn their CAD skills? You have anything else?
Sure, yeah. Oh, Aiden, do you want to start?
No, Lucas, you go first, and I'll hop on after if there's anything left to say.
Okay, perfect. Well, like I said, I mentioned the My SolidWorks resources. Those are really helpful, especially if you're trying to get the professional or professional advanced exams. That's what I used. Personally, I took about a week of my life spending probably 15 hours a day just studying those to take them all in a week and pass them, which was very interesting to say the least. And then when you get to more advanced topics, I think that in combination with a lot of YouTube resources, like on Virtual Flat CAD and on Solid Professor, that's really useful. And I'd say if you're trying to take the CSWE, which I know someone asked about, SolidWorks Lucas, the channel that I run, is going to be finishing the Certified SolidWorks Expert full exam course. So go check that out.
It sounds like I'm going to be checking out YouTube Lucas here and learning a little bit more so that I could be able to pass the CSWE too. So I think that's really amazing that you're providing these resources. And same to you, Rob, and anybody else in the community who's doing this kind of stuff. For me, it really was through value-added resellers that I was able to learn through the professional training curriculum, specifically Javelin Technologies, who is across all of Canada, but specifically I was going to the Oakville office. And their training was exceptional, right? To be able to provide the commuters the technology, but also some of the top educators in the world, even better than many of them that I come across at university. And I really do think that that says a lot. They're not only passionate about teaching the topics, but they really care about helping you outside of what you're just putting in. So there was many times in which they'd ask me about projects I'd be working on after class, and they'd be willing to give their time and volunteer their time a little bit further, just to support me. And without that, I definitely would not be here. They were the ones who opened the door and really invited me in. And it's all thanks to Dassault for creating such an inviting and welcoming community that supports youth. So I'm extremely grateful for that.
Yeah, Vinia.
I would like to say one thing about just learning anything. I suppose just persist. It could be overwhelming at times if you first start out, and there are going to be some obstacles, but once you get over those, it's going to be really not smooth sailing, but fun. It's going to be awesome. I recommend, if you're just starting out with CAD, to learn to use SolidWorks Kids. That's actually how I started out, and it's a really easy soft platform, and you can CAD just about anything on it.
Wow, that's so, I really resonate with the message of just persist. You know, I remember when I was starting out wrestling with like a spring and how to get it to do what I want, but then, you know, you persist and you can do some great things. So that's an awesome message here. So this one's a good one, because, you know, we have basically everyone from the entire age spectrum of, like, you know, kid to, you know, young teen to, you know, just past their 20s. So I want to take Fernando's question here. And he says, I want to ask, what would you advise someone who is just starting out with this stuff? Greetings from Northern Mexico. You want to take a crack at it?
I will.
All right.
Just the fact that you're here attending sessions at 3D Experience World is a huge step in the right direction. You will be able to open your eyes to so many different educators and resources to be able to help you on your journey. And I really suggest checking out more resources from the SolidWorks User Group Network, and joining a group if you're able to. A lot of stuff is virtual now, so even if you don't have a group near you, you can still join one. And I think that's really great, because you're able to network with people, you're able to network with business owners, and you're able to learn new skills that you might not otherwise. My user group has been amazing. I've been able to learn so much, and I've even been able to speak there. And that has been so cool. And I really miss seeing everyone in person, but even just seeing everyone online has been really fun. And yeah, that's what I suggest.
Awesome. Any other thoughts on that one?
I'd say one thing more technically about learning SolidWorks is just to, when you're designing anything, think deeply and from a first principles perspective about why you're doing the things you do. Like, it might not be obvious why you make a sketch or why you're doing an extrusion. Those kinds of things you have to really think about to fully define a model the best way you can. And especially when you start working with large assemblies and that kind of thing, you really want to design it the right way. And to do that, you have to think about what you're doing and not just design it the way that you think might be the easiest. So I'd say that just take a very first principles look when you're learning.
That is excellent advice. And it just goes to show, like, even if you're trying to go fast, like in Model Mania, it always helps to just, when you see the part, take a breath and just kind of study the drawing for a minute. Notice the relations and stuff like that. So that is awesome. I totally agree with that. So I want to ask this next question from Antrakish Gupta. I hope I said your name correctly, and I apologize if I didn't. I know a lot of people, a lot of our panelists have done some huge projects. The question is, how do you overcome the problem of funds for a project? Any tips? Any thoughts? Yeah, Danielle.
Putting yourself out there in the community, networking with people, talking to business owners, applying for different competitions, being able to just meet people, especially digitally, can be really hard to kind of get more of a face-to-face. So what I recommend is networking with people, especially through LinkedIn, and utilizing that as a platform. I suggest getting premium, using InMail, and messaging people and asking questions. If you ask questions, you're going to be able to connect with them on such a deeper level, and they're going to be more inclined to support you. For me, it has been definitely a difficult journey. At the beginning, I funded most of my projects myself, which is a little bit rough. It was kind of like, oh, I definitely can't afford this at all, you know? I give robots away for free, and that's not a sustainable business model, right? It's really difficult to do. And so I just had to keep on pitching my ideas to business leaders, and I had to talk to them and say, hey, I believe in myself and you should believe in me too. And because of that, I've been able to have opportunities from literally like NBC, L'Oreal, People Magazine, just for putting myself out there and for sharing my story. And from that, I have gotten so much funding. I was just funded by Ulta Beauty, And so to have those opportunities is just so awesome. So yeah, put yourself out there, become a speaker, put yourself in a position where you're going to meet a lot of people.
Yeah, awesome advice. And from anyone else? Yeah,
I'll just
Aiden.
hop in real quick. So what Danielle said is spot on. You really do have to get yourself out there. But I think a really great place to start is definitely to be willing to be charitable with your work. I think in doing charitable work, there are always gifts that kind of come back in return. That may just be you learning the software better and developing a greater skill set. It may be somebody who recognizes your work as a result of that. It may just be you building a greater portfolio of things that you can show when you go forth to potential investors and say, hey, I'm capable of this. This is what I've done. And then showcase that drive, that passion that you have and say, this is what I want to do. And people will believe in you, right? If you are persistent, if you're confident, and if you really believe in your mission, that is something people want to get behind, especially if there's going to be real impact.
Yeah, that's totally awesome. So if there's nothing else, I kind of wanted to interject. There's no overstating just the existence of SolidWorks and CAD in the first place that makes, getting this funding so much easier. 3D graphics don't cost anything. Well, other than you get the software, but as soon as you get it, you can make more and more parts in your, assembly, and you can design basically whatever you want, make it as big as you want, and it just doesn't cost anything. And then when it has some level of finish, you can show it to people and like, would you like this to exist? So there's like value in that too. I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, Lucas, you got something?
I was just going to say really quickly, if you're looking into an entrepreneurial project, the entrepreneurship license for SolidWorks is free for a year if you have a good business model and something that people are willing to buy. And doing that, it can really jumpstart your business. That's what we did with IncoNav. Just a quick tip for anybody with an entrepreneurial mind out there.
Very nice. Vinny, do you have something or?
Yeah, I would like to say one more thing about that question. I definitely agree with Danielle and Aiden. Networking is a big thing for if you want to get some funds for your project. But also, there's going to be thousands of companies out there with thousands of grants that you can apply to. And doing that will definitely get you funds for your project. And there's bound to be at least a few companies out there who support your project.
Wow, that's an awesome conversation. I bet that helped so many people out in the chat who have all these these bright ideas and just need to get it done, right? So it looks like Vinny and Danielle, you talked about this already, but looks like you're hungry for more. So Alejandra asks, what advice would you give to a woman who wants to succeed in robotics and engineering? So anything else you want to add? Yeah, Danielle.
Create a community or join a community that already exists that will support you. The community that supports me is ASIS, which is the American Indian Science and Engineering Society. It is a beautiful intertribal community where I truly feel like I'm at home and I'm accepted for who I am and for my interests and for my cultural backgrounds. And there's many other organizations like Women in 3D Printing that will really help you on your journey. And to be able to look up, especially to women who have had a long career in engineering and have been through a lot of those hard experiences that you're probably experiencing, especially for me as a young student, to be able to look up to them and say that they've made it through their journey is just such an amazing thing. And it is such an encouragement. It's like, if they can do it, I can do it too, right? Despite all the obstacles, despite all the things in our way, we can do it. So I suggest looking into like the National Society of Black Engineers is a really great organization, Women in 3D Printing, the Society of Women Engineers. They have networking opportunities. They have conferences, both virtual and later on in person. They have networking forums and everything. ACES actually has a really cool magazine called Winds of Change, where you're able to connect with companies that support Indigenous peoples. And I highly suggest checking that out, even if you aren't Indigenous, but to learn more about Indigenous students and our role in STEAM.
Yeah, Vinny.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. I would just like to say that there's bound to be some people that are going to tell you that you're not allowed in this field or you don't belong in this field, but my best piece of advice for that is literally just ignore them. It doesn't matter what they think. And as long as you're doing something you love, that's an awesome thing to do. I'd also just suggest to get connected with women who have gone through challenges that you're trying to overcome, like Danielle said. That's very important as well.
Man, this has been such an amazing conversation. We're about out of time, but before I end it, I just want to give, first off, thank all these brilliant panelists. It was so awesome hearing from them, but I wanted to see if you wanted to shout anything out before we log off here. Any like social media, etc. Danielle, you want to go?
My mic is on. I realize when I share my screen, I can't see myself, and I'm like, I don't know if my mic is on or not. I would say check out the resource that I just shared in the chat. It is a link to more information about each panelist on my website, The STEAM Connection, where you can access a new robot that I just designed named 20. 20 is an open source robot that is free for all of you to access and start building and 3D printing right away. And that's on my website, as well as classes that I teach, events that are going on. I keynote a conference in a couple days called Green Biz, alongside people like Bill Gates. And I am so excited about that because it's about environmental sustainability. And I highly recommend checking all of those resources out on my website, as well as all of the other fantastic panelists and links to their website, like STEM Kids Rock, and learning how you can get involved in each of our organizations.
Yep. And Vinny, you want to plug something?
Yeah, me and Danielle actually have a podcast called Hands on Techie Talks. And I saw some people in the chat talking about environmental stuff. And if you're interested in that, that podcast is a great resource. It's found on all platforms, and we bring cool environmental guests each week on the podcast, and you're going to love it, I promise.
Awesome.
And we just ranked 7th in India for education for kids. So that was really cool. I was like, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I will share a link to that in the chat.
Awesome. And then Lucas, you're SolidWorks Lucas, right? Anything else?
Yeah, SolidWorks Lucas, YouTube, go subscribe. We got new certified SolidWorks expert prep videos coming out every Friday. I was inactive a little bit, but that was because of exams. We're going to get right back on it. We're going to get more expert certified, and we're going to get the videos out every week.
Yep. And Aiden, how about you? Quick plug?
Yeah, just feel free to connect with me. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere that's convenient. And all you have to do is search my name.
Yep. And then if you want to look at my stuff, at Virtual Flat CAD, like the opposite of Virtual Sharp. But yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, basically anywhere. Just Google Virtual Flat CAD or CAD Model of the Day, and you'll find my stuff. But once again, thank you to all of my brilliant, brilliant panelists. And I think we'll call it.